Hi, I'm Martin, and welcome to Upgrade Your Day, the podcast.
One thing I would also recommend to people is when you sit and you face the sea, is listen to the difference between the left and the right-hand side of the body. Because the wave will often roll along the beach and start at one side and cross the front of the body or the facing of the body. And it will go in stereo differently onto the right-hand side.
Nice,
They'll crash all at different points. It won't just be one long wave. And each wave is unique, just like each of us. So it's a really simple practice. And there's a lot written about the therapeutic benefits of being both in, on, and by the sea.
Today, I am talking to the lovely Mark from Kalm Horizons. Now, I met Mark when I was doing my Mindfulness and Compassion teacher training with Mindfulness UK. We got on really well, and he is the most knowledgeable, most eloquent chap, much more eloquent than I am. Really, really lovely. We had 12 months together on Zoom. He was great when it came to, we had a little group WhatsApp, and when we were doing study or homework, we'd always shoot questions around or we need more information, and he was just absolutely brilliant. He really was. And it was great to have a chance to chat to him. He set up a company called Kalm Horizons, which is all about meditation and the sea. And I think even if you're not on a mindfulness journey or you don't have a mindfulness practice, there's something about the ocean that just settles us. I think we can sit and stare at the sea for a very long time. Even friends of mine that have quite busy minds, they always say to me, "Oh, I can't meditate, Mark. My mind's too busy." Not that they're all from the West Country, but it's the only accent I can do because I'm from there. Obviously, that's why. Basically, I'm a really bad actor. The only accent I can do is my own accent that I've sort of lost since moving away from Somerset. Anyway. But that's something that is said a lot from my friends. And I always mention to them about the whole sitting, looking at the ocean. And they kind of relate to that. And I must admit, when I do gigs and I'm away, a lot of holiday parks that I do are obviously on the coast. And I love to walk and to ramble and to just look out at the sea. And I always stop somewhere and do a little self-guided meditation, always facing the sea, always just listening. I absolutely love it. And I think you're going to really enjoy this chat with Mark today. Here is the lovely Mark from Kalm Horizons. What I should start by saying is, so right now, let me see if I get this right. When we did the first place I met you was on the Mindfulness UK teacher training course. We both did the Mindfulness and Compassion teacher training, which was amazing. We'll talk about that later. But when we went around the group saying what we do, who we are, you had like the best job ever. So am I right in saying, not to trivialize it, but basically you spend your time reviewing spas?
In a nutshell, that's absolutely correct.
The dream job. So first of all, just tell me a little bit about that, because is it such a dream job or actually does it get really boring? Come on, give us the details.
So it is a dream job because I get to travel around Europe and across Asia and the Indian Ocean predominantly. And I get to go to luxury hotels and resorts and looked after extremely well, and get to go to the spa and have phenomenal cutting edge spa treatments. So last week I was in Crete and had a series of diagnostic treatments that were led by a doctor, including breath analysis to determine my metabolic rate and a 3D body scanner, that led on to prescribed treatments, so cryotherapy, massage and vitamin infusions by an IV drip. So it is quite a dream job. I also report on the industry, but there are times, I've had a couple of times where I've had lots of treatments in quite quick succession. And by the end of it, I've got to the point where I haven't wanted anyone to touch me anymore, which was really interesting because I think you absorb the energy from different people. And I didn't want to be poked and prodded anymore. So I actually put I think it was a 2-month gap in there to sort of as a stopgap. But on the whole, I get to go to luxury places. It's phenomenal.
Is it hard to review them though? Is there a point when you just don't know what to say anymore about places? Are they always beautiful? Because I can imagine with a spa, they're always trying really hard to make sure it's clean and professional. It's not, all of them have got a certain level of high expectation, haven't they?
Yeah, and I'm lucky because I get to go to the very best of the very best,
Oh,
particularly across Europe. So it can be really hard to fault them. But what I try and do is I really deep dive into the concept, what's driving that, and I write a lot for B2B magazines as well. So we're reporting on trends, wellness, developments, and I do see the best in everything. But what I tend to find critique with is often service delivery. And that comes down to people. And because customer service and service delivery in the treatment room is often where a spa will fall down. You can build a beautiful multi-million pound complex, but if you don't have great therapists and a great team delivering that, that can just fall apart and that can be a really poor experience.
so you said you were recently in Crete, and those of you that heard the first podcast with Hannah about mindfulness, we talked about how we worked in Crete. And to be fair, the only thing we did in Crete was drink rosé wine. That was pretty. There was no spas going on there. Whereabouts in Crete was it?
So this was an hour from Heraklion, and it was a place called Dias Cove. It's an existing property. It's been there about 10 years. It's like built-in luxury villas built into its own private cove. But they've just redeveloped and relaunched the spa concept and given it taken it from a beauty-led perspective into a real health and wellness.
Oh.
And I just found it absolutely fascinating and got really excited by it.
So did you give it a good review? Because we're going back to Crete because we have friends there now from over the last 20 years. Is it worth checking out? That's what I need to know.
Oh, it's definitely worth checking out. But you are
Amazing.
looking at very much the upper tier of the price point. It's not
Yeah.
something that I would be able to afford to go to, and that's
Oh,
another privilege of what I get to do, because I get to lead this luxury lifestyle on a mindfulness kind of budget.
so I'm not getting a discount from you then if I go there.
I can put a word in, but I don't know if I'll get you much of a discount.
Oh, damn. It's always the way. Well, listen, first of all, we should mention we did our mindfulness and compassion course with Mindfulness UK. We did it, what was it, 12 months, I think. How was it for
Yeah.
you? Because for me, it was just the best course. And our esteemed leader, Angie, was brilliant. I know Karen from Mindfulness UK was a great support as well. I absolutely loved it. How was it for you?
So I found it was really interesting going back to study after being away from it for so long, because I studied politics and law, but I finished in 1994. So that's a really long time to be away from study. It helped to deepen my understanding of mindfulness. So I've been practicing since 2011, but going in and studying the story behind it and the theory and the science of what it can do for the mind and body, I really loved it. Loved connecting with people like yourself. We had a really tight knit group that went through the course,
Yeah,
and
it's
it really
great.
sort of opened the door to this whole new world for me as well.
Because I think they also, I mean, I think we said this on the course that people come to mindfulness, there's usually a reason behind it. And especially if you want to teach, if you want to share what you've learned, it usually comes from a quite a important place within you. And I know for myself, when I did the Edinburgh Fringe a few years ago, I was just full of anxiety about performing. And that's when I realized that I didn't necessarily want to contact my doctor. I just needed something. There was something that I needed, and that's when I started to really study mindfulness, and it worked for me, and hence why I wanted to spread the word and teach it. And what about yourself? How did you come into the world of mindfulness and wanting to teach it?
Okay, so the first point was in 2011. I was leading a Save Our Local Library campaign in London, and it was also at the time where they had the riots as well. But it was just prior to that. I had put myself above the parapet, and when you do that, you can be liable to attack. And I became attacked because I was positioned as the leader, just a local community group. Some of the other rival libraries that were also threatened, starting to really personally attack me. I really struggled with that, and stress and anxiety took hold, and I started getting stomach pains, and I didn't attribute that to the stress and anxiety. I thought I was getting cancer or something wrong with my tummy. The doctor ruled those issues out and then said, you've got stress and anxiety, maybe you could get some counselling. So I was referred for counselling, but I said to the counsellor, I don't want to just offload. That did help, but I want to be given a set of tools that could help me long term, because I didn't want to just like offload to them, have a cry, and then walk away. So I was really lucky. I was partnered with somebody who teaches mindfulness, and it's actually Alistair Appleton, who is also a presenter on Escape to the Country.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And what a lot of people don't always know is that he is a really expert mindfulness practitioner, and he's got a business called Mindsprings based here on the South Coast. So he was a phenomenal guide that taught me the key elements of mindfulness and how it can really help. And that became a part of my everyday practice. And really, it really works. Like
Wow.
it's so simple in its concept of bringing awareness to the present, but it's also really difficult. And that's a real balance to find. So it's a practice I've continued with. And then in 2020, after the first lockdown, I hit my head on a cupboard door and hadn't quite realized the impact that it had. I sort of had the typical symptoms of concussion. I continued working. I was in a highly stressed state at that point. And after a week or so, I started to get speech problems. I couldn't watch television, couldn't listen to music. I couldn't drive. I had a lot of comprehension issues as well. And I had to just really stop completely. I stopped, and I had time to reevaluate what I was doing. And I decided that I wanted to do something different. And mindfulness came to me because it's always been part of it. But I thought, okay, there's an opportunity here for maybe me to learn to be a mindfulness teacher or mindfulness guide. And I looked at the course, and I was actually scheduled to start in the October.
Oh, yeah.
But I just wasn't ready. I couldn't have studied. So I put it off. I had a chat with Angie and then started in the January, which is when we got to meet. That's when the course started.
And I think it has so many layers, doesn't it, mindfulness, with regards to how you want to teach it and what you want to teach, which is why I love it. And I remember Angie saying, or I said to Angie, I'd love to do the MBSR, the mindfulness-based stress reduction, which has been going since the 70s. However, it is very strict and you have to teach a certain way. It's an 8-week course and that's what you teach. Whereas I'm a little bit more, I like to kind of make my own thing and have a little journey here and a journey there. And she said she was very similar. Hence why the mindfulness and compassion course is great, because it's a general course and you can do your own thing with that. Obviously, I've created a kind of upgrade your days entry level, really. It's for people that are just tiptoeing and can find out what works for them. You, on the other hand, sort of went in a certain direction as well because of your meditations and, well, being by the sea, which is glorious. So tell me a little bit about how you came about that. Did you think about doing that when you started the course?
Actually, when I started the course, I really thought I would just become a mindfulness teacher. We had decided to move from London and live on the South Coast. And that was, again, part of this whole change of lifestyle. And it wasn't until I got to be living by the sea, I embraced cold water swimming, so very much in the Wim Hof style method. But it wasn't immediate. And I thought I could do something potentially around the ocean. But I was meditating on the beach one day, just listening to the sound of the waves. And at the end of it, I opened my eyes and looked out to the point at where the sky meets the sea, and that was a Kalm Horizon, and it just started to click. So that's where the name came from, Kalm Horizons. And but what I wanted to do was just not take the learning that I'd got from the mindfulness, but was also to bring in other elements, because I know that when I sit down to practice mindfulness, it takes me a little while to drop into it. So I have to really focus on the body and do body scans and so on, just to take myself out of my head. So I thought I would take the learnings from my career and have added in elements of, I suppose, fire and wellness modalities that really connect with me. So to begin with, we actually do some simple breath work. Then we'll do some aromatherapy breathing, and I use aromatherapy associates oils with a different intention for each class. So say at the beginning, which is all about trying to relax, I use an oil called De-Stress Mind. But as we progress through, so getting toward maybe week 5 or 6 of a 6-week course, we'll start embracing a sense of space, letting go, and freedom as well, and embracing the word freedom and what that means to people. So I use another oil called Inner Strength, which is all about supporting the heart and the mind and the body. I learned how to use Tibetan singing bowls, and I finished the class with that, and they're really popular. And I also do some visualizations and some affirmations, and these are some of the things that I learned in the course. So taking in the good is a practice that is hugely powerful for people, and I notice a real shift when I incorporate that into a session. I was teaching some people a couple of days ago in Cheshire at a wellness event for people going through cancer. And I had just 6 women in my group. I didn't know at what stage or development of their journey they were going through. But taking in the good's really simple. You just visualize a person or a pet that brings you great love and compassion and kindness, and you try and embody that into your system, into your physical well-being, and it's really powerful, and it brought a lot of emotion out for people. I find when I practice it, it's very emotional too. So I sort of rounded off. I do some self-massage, guided self-massage techniques at the end, and people love it. Mm-hmm. And I love seeing the progression and the change in people. When they come into the class, their shoulders are up, their neck's tight, and you can see it in their face. They're stressed, they're anxious, and at the end, they just sort of float out. And that's, for me, a real gift that I can sort of guide that.
So you do some on the beach, and then you do some in a class as well. So do you play in noises of the sea, or is that just something separate?
Yeah. So because I think the sea is really important, and actually I forgot to mention that we do a wave meditation. So that whether you're in the studio, I have a speaker with the waves, and they're playing all of the time. I also do a guided visualization. So I pick a beach, and it'll be a different beach every session. So I guide them down to the beach, and absorbing the colors of wearing the sensation of the sun on your face and maybe the wind on your arms. And but on the beach, obviously, we've got the sounds of the waves in reality. But that brings with different challenges, because it can be really windy. Mm-hmm. There could be planes flying over. There's often kids playing on the beach. But I try and get them to allow those to become part of the experience, as opposed to trying to fighting them or fixating on them.
Yeah, as always, is being aware of that and letting that be part of the meditation, isn't it? It's but I think for most people, even if they don't have a mindfulness or a meditation practice, if you tell people that they need to just sit and just rest or be still, the sea is something so powerful for so many people. Just the noise of the waves. I know when I was in Crete in the summer, you forget the detail, especially when you hear the pebbles kind of just rolling over one another, that fizz that you get at the end when the wave just breaks, all these little elements that you forget about. Whereas if you try and be a bit more mindful and you just sit and listen, it all comes back. So it makes so much sense to turn that into a meditation whilst you're on the beach. I think it's a beautiful idea.
Yeah, and it's actually at a very base level, again, it's really simple. But when you stop, close your eyes, and sit and listen to the waves. You talked about the rolling of the wave onto the beach, the withdrawing of it back. One thing I would also recommend to people is when you sit and you face the sea, is listen to the difference between the left and the right hand side of the body. Because the wave will often roll along the beach and start at one side and cross the front of the body or the facing of the body, and it will go in stereo differently onto the right hand side. Nice, they'll crash at different points. It won't just be one long wave, and each wave is unique, just like each of us. So it's a really simple practice. And there's a lot written about the therapeutic benefits of being both in, on, and by the sea.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, last year I had a gig in, well, quite a few gigs in Newquay, and there's a little beach. I won't mention it because I don't want anyone else to find it. But it's got the most beautiful rock pools. And not too much wildlife or anything like that. Just lovely rock pools, nice sizes. Lots of pebbles at the bottom. They look quite comfortable. One day I just thought, you know what? I need to sit in there and do my little meditation today. And that's what I did. I sat in the rock pool, and it was a good 20 minutes of a self-guided meditation, which for me, I'm big on guided meditations. It was quite a achievement, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I remember thinking, if I live here, I'll be doing this every single day. And I think because that rock pool was quite shallow, the water was quite warm because the sun had been warming up a little bit. And if anybody, I don't know how I feel about white feathers, but if anybody's really into it, there was just this little white feather sat on this little bit of sort of moss to the side, and it was there throughout the whole of my meditation. And then when I finished, it just floated away, which was quite interesting. If somebody wants to
Wow.
make something of that, then yeah, it was really lovely. And it was it's definitely needed, because I had a lot of gigs at the time and I could feel anxiety building. It was definitely needed. I needed to do that meditation that day just to give me that inner backbone for the week ahead. And yeah, I find that very, very strange. The little white feather just landed. I'll post a picture on my Instagram at some point, I'm sure. But it was just beautiful to sit in that water, being surrounded by nature, and to listen to the sea, basically.
Yeah, beautiful. And
Really
another
nice.
thing that I've launched more recently is there's a guy who's built a sauna in a horse box, and he drives it onto Worthing Beach. And he's got glass panels, so you can see the sea from inside this wood-fired sauna. And it's absolutely wonderful what he's done, because it continues that connection with the sea. So I've created a 2-hour circuit where people come to me for a 1-hour meditation, and I go through all the elements from aromatherapy right through to the singing bowls, all on the beach. People go into the sauna for half an hour, then they can go for a swim or a dip, and then return to me for tea and homemade cake. And it's just a really beautiful experience.
Mark, can I move in with you, please? I'll have to bring my husband and 2 dogs, but we'll move in. I think it'd be.
That's all right. That's all right. Because I'm renowned for my baking, you see. So, and what most people do, I was on a baking program on Channel 4 called Baking Mad before British Bake Off became a really big thing. So, I just thought that's another way I can incorporate one of my passions into this sort of, I suppose, I don't like to say healing, but into this cocooning and compassionate place that I sort of create that space for people.
Yeah.
And it's just lovely being on the beach.
Well, it's lovely for people, to connect. Like we say, sometimes you sort of read about these courses that are available, and it all sounds so scary sometimes. So anything like finishing something with a bit of cake, I mean, that's real life and that's beautiful. It's just fun, isn't it? It's joyous. It's something that we
Yeah.
can all share in. And I think that's really special. You mentioned about aromatherapy. So how did you come about introducing that into what you do?
So I have always been a real fan of aromatherapy oils, bathing, the roller balls that you can get. And I'm a real fan of aromatherapy associates. I've been lucky enough to be gifted quite a lot of their products, and through work, because I review beauty products as part of my job as well. But I've tried lots, and in the spa space, they use aromatherapy oils to massage you. I've got aroma diffusers. I have all sorts of things around the house, both to lift you up and also to calm you down, but also to soothe the soul. So I thought it was really important to try and bring some of that, because I know that they're really powerful and how they can influence the limbic system, and they work pretty much straight away. So what I wanted to do was right at the beginning, again, to set that intention or to influence the mood of the people throughout that session, was to just introduce some aromatherapy. I get people to put some oil on the back of their hands, rub the backs of their hands together, and then just bring their knuckles up to beneath their nose and just inhale. But I also get them to really bring their attention to the feeling of the oil as it tickles and prickles the inside of the nose. Again, a mindfulness practice,
Yeah.
but also it's just to really ground them and center them in that moment. And I think it works really well because I introduce them slowly. So it's de-stress mind to begin with. Then there's one called support equilibrium. But as we get deeper, I tend to use more complex and deeper oils. And I do get a lot of positive comments about that. Often people want to buy the product or know how that they can incorporate that in the future. I do online classes as well, which I'm going to reintroduce in autumn because I think summer in the evenings people are quite busy. So I do the whole session I do through Zoom. I have the sound of the waves through my speaker, my Tibetan singing bowls, but I send people like a mini bath and body oil so they can use the oil for the inhalation. And then at the end of the session, they can go and have a bath. So I think, again, that's continuing that sort of journey. It's not just that mindfulness, you're sort of then going off and practicing another element of wellness. And I've created some Spotify playlists as well that people can partner with that bathing experience. Some of them are waves, and then some of them are just nice, relaxing music.
Yeah. And it's introducing loads of elements to our everyday life, which I love. People like to get things now, don't they? When I created my companion, I felt like people were watching my videos and following what I'm doing in my message. But when they could also get my little book as well and follow that and read through it, they love it. And I just think that's brilliant that you can order from you that oil and then you can sit there on Zoom and do the class and you feel more connected in that way, don't you? You feel more of someone's journey and your Kalm Horizons message. And then to have a bath, it makes it a whole evening of just everything that you're trying to do. I think that's absolutely brilliant. I think if I don't make it to one of your ones in person, I would definitely be doing one of those for sure.
Yeah.
I love the idea of it. And have you made your own oil? Have you created one with different oils, or do you go with a certain smell, scent?
Yeah. So at the moment, I use a brand. But interestingly, I met with someone who's an aromatherapist in the last couple of days because my intention has always been to create a Kalm Horizons blend. It'll be quite oceanic, so it'll bring things like eucalyptus, maybe sea buckthorn, and a few things like that into the blend. So it's going to be quite fresh. But that's something we're working on very soon, which I'm very excited about.
You see, Mark, I'm so excited for you because we finished our course at the beginning of, was it beginning of this year? I completely forget. It must be, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. January. Did we finish January?
I think so.
Did we? I can't
No, no,
remember.
no, no, no. It was last year. It was last year.
October, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
October.
Because I officially launched Calm Horizons in the sort of early October.
Amazing. I love that. I love what you're doing. I think it's brilliant. And I love all the elements to it. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And what I want to do at the end of this one is, and funny enough, this all ties in brilliantly. When I was in Crete in the summer, I filmed the ocean for 3 minutes because I have this little 3 minute upgrade, which is a lovely time that I believe in. You can dedicate 3 minutes of every day as an intro to mindfulness. So I recorded it and I've got the sound from that. So on the end of this podcast, I'm going to put 3 minutes of the ocean from Rethymnon. And without giving too much of what you do away, I don't want you to give anything away for free. We've all got to make a living these days. Is there anything what would you suggest people should do at the end of this podcast with the 3 minutes of the waves from Crete?
So really, people need to find a nice, comfortable seated position, and one that sort of gives that sort of sense of space at the front of the body. You don't have to be super upright, but just really that there's a sense of openness. Maybe put your hands on your thighs or in your lap. Feel the connection with your chair. So the back, your thighs, your buttocks, backs of your legs, feet on the floor. And then just gently close your eyes and recognize that you're giving yourself 3 minutes to stop and to pause, because we don't pause enough in any of our days.
No.
And then as the waves start to sound, just gently bring your attention to them and gently rest your attention with the sound of the waves and drift away.
Oh, Mark, I love what you're doing. I think it's amazing. And I have to say, well, first of all, where can people find out about you? Where can they find, how can they book your courses? How can they find out more about what you do?
So the easiest way is kalmhorizons.com, but that's calm with a K. And you can also find me on Instagram, Kalm Horizons, and also on Facebook. But I think Facebook, it's Kalm Horizons Official.
Okay.
And if people have got any questions, I'm really happy to answer those. And because I get inquiries from all sorts of different people. My audience is predominantly sort of women 40 plus, but in different settings, it can be different. The sauna class is a much younger audience. And I've also done sessions with students at a local grammar school before their sixth form exams.
Ah, yeah.
And that was and they've got a whole wellbeing hub, which is like, I think, super advanced for a school.
Hang on, a well-being hub at a school.
Yeah.
My gosh. It's
Haven't
different to
things
my day,
changed?
Mark.
Yeah, we were like hang out in the gym to have our lunch, but
Yeah, our
yeah,
gym, our gym turned into the school canteen. It turned into the theatre. It turned into a classroom. It turned into everything apart from a well-being hub. What was in the
yeah.
well-being hub?
So they had some cool beanbags, some lovely like chairs and sofas, a really good suite of books and magazines around mindfulness and well-being.
Wow. Wow.
But it was also just, and there was one teacher who was sort of dedicated to be looking after that space. But they could just go there. They could go and read, go and study. If they needed time out, just to have a bit of headspace, really. And it was in one of those sort of terrapins, I suppose you call them, those sort of semi-permanent classrooms, but they usually become quite permanent. But it was nicely decorated. They'd had some funding from another organisation, and they used some of that funding to bring me in. So I did sessions for the students, plus also for the teaching staff, because obviously they've had a really tough time with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, I would like to think it's the future. But at the moment, I think it's probably more for a lot of private schools, but it's starting. So I think that they've seen that there's a need and they're sort of fulfilling that. And yeah, I'd like to see more of it in the future.
Yes, so would I, absolutely. And they should be booking you to go to every school in the country, Mark. Forget this spa reviewing malarkey. No, we need Calm Horizons in schools. That's what we need.
Yeah.
But listen, thank you so much for coming on today. I absolutely love your chat. And I think everybody needs to do a little bit of meditation by the sea. I think it will solve a lot of our problems, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It brings you back down to earth. It connects you with nature, which is very similar to a lot of the sessions that you do, but you just do them out walking and rambling in nature. And, I think there's a lot of healing power that we can tap into by doing that, and we just need to give ourselves time. I think being connected to the seasons, as you said, but also to the movement of the earth and the moon, absolutely beautiful. So I'm planning a sunrise swim on summer solstice, because I'm 5 minutes walk from the beach, so to get up at 4:30 in the morning isn't such an issue. So yeah, I'll be there ready swimming when the sun comes up.
Well, Mark, I'm going to be at Glastonbury next week. So, and I'm doing little live videos on my Facebook every morning. And I'm going to be doing some little podcasts from there as well. But on the summer solstice, we're going to be at the Stone Circle in Glastonbury. And I think it's 13 minutes past 4, the sun rises, Mark.
Oh, I'm going to get. Oh, that's an earlier start than I thought. I'm glad you told me though. That's good.
I literally sent it to my husband yesterday going, you want to join me for the summer solstice. Well, just to let you know, this is the time. And I won't tell you what he sent back to me.
No, we'll bleep that out.
He's like, yeah, you could do that yourself. Hang on, let me see what it says. Oh, no, here's summer solstice that time, 14 minutes past 5.
Oh,
I've given you an extra hour. There you go. You've got an extra hour.
That's not so bad. That's not so bad. I'll get up and have a cup of tea, and I probably will do, because last summer solstice I joined a swimming group along the coast called the Blue Tits, and I did a short meditation before we all got in the sea together. Yeah, it was really special.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I've got a couple of friends that are in the Blue Tits. We'll talk about that afterwards.
Yes.
They're amazing. They're amazing. They've got their little woolly hats on, their little knitted hats, and they head out. It's brilliant. I think that's great. Fab. Well, Mark, thank you for joining me today. You're an absolute inspiration, and I can't wait. Well, at the end of this, we're going to put the little C track on, and hopefully people will take a little bit of your advice and just take 3 minutes to just settle and listen to the waves.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So that was the lovely Mark. I hope you enjoyed that. I loved chatting to him, and Kalm Horizons is just absolutely brilliant. I wish him all the luck in the world. I will definitely try and make it live in person one day. If not, I am absolutely, without doubt, doing a Zoom session with him later on in the year, in the autumn. It'll be wonderful. As we mentioned there, we are going to finish with a 3-minute upgrade. I was in Crete, as I mentioned earlier as well, and I filmed a 3 minutes of the ocean, and I've turned it into a sound file, and we're going to add... Well, no, actually, my producer Carly has turned it into a sound file. She's very clever. And we're going to put it on the end. We're going to start it with a little Himalayan bell and finish it with a bell as well, so that you know that it started and it's ended. I've just said Himalayan bell, but it's actually a Himalayan bowl that I bell. I have got meditation bells, but they're quite high pitched and I prefer the bowl. Is this making any sense? I don't think so. I'll stop talking. I prefer the bowl to the bells. Anyway, listen, I think we all need a little bit of meditation now, so I'm going to leave you with this. And as always, if you would like to rate this episode, please do. And if you'd like to leave a review, I would love that. Thank you so much. Completely up to you. No pressure. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say. And if you want to send me any emails or any messages, you can send them to Martin, which is Martin, at upgradeyourday.co.uk. Have a great day, everyone, and we're going to finish now with our little sea meditation and our 3-minute upgrade.